Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conscious Conversion. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up and listening to today's amazing interview. I'm really excited to have today's guest, Kate O'Donnell. She is the author of 3 Ayurvedic cookbooks, including the Everyday Ayurvedic Cookbook, a seasonal guide to eating and living well, and Everyday Ayurvedic Cooking for a Calm, Clear Mind, 100 Sattvic Recipes. She's a nationally certified Ayurvedic practitioner and authorized Ashtanga yoga teacher based in Boston, and still travels to India annually for study. Kate began yoga by accident in South India at age 20. More than a dozen extended trips to India and 20 years studying the wisdom traditions of the subcontinent support Kate's understanding of Ayurveda and yoga. After years of dedication to the Ashtanga system, Kate has experienced great benefits from this practice and was authorized by her teacher, is it Sharath Joy?
Joyce, yeah.
Sharath Joyce, to teach the primary and intermediate series of Ashtanga yoga. She currently stewards a morning yoga program in Portland, Maine and Boston. She also specializes in Ayurvedic education, cooking skills, and cleansing programs, offering online programs, residential immersions and trainings, and individual consultations. Her Ayurveda and yoga offerings aim to help others come closer to their true nature. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, we talked a little bit before I hit record, but, just to, all the conversations right now are really, really deep and really intimate. And I start out every single call with my team, with my clients, with my interviewees, like, how are you right now? How are you doing, given everything that's happening in the world right now?
I feel like I've accepted the shutdown. I had a lot of feelings of loss as my travel schedule got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been since becoming an author, I guess this has been 6 years now, I've started traveling more and teaching more, and I just really enjoy it. Like, I love sharing Ayurveda with people in different parts of the world, sort of seeing what their climate and their food source is like. And so I had a lot of real just disappointment around, not being able to do most of the work I had lined up for the rest of the season. So that was a big one that hit me. But otherwise, everyone in our community is healthy. Mm-hmm. And, we're just, my partner and I live a pretty small life anyway. So we don't go out and do stuff anyway. So, so we feel good. I feel, honestly, really concerned that the general feelings of terror and fear that people have across the globe are grounds for some bad choices to be made in the future by our political leaders. I worry about that. It reminds me of in the United States after 9/11, and a lot of the people were so freaked out about terrorism that a lot of laws got pushed through that really couldn't have gotten pushed through otherwise. That about people's personal privacy and things like that. Yeah. So I just wonder if we're going to see another bunch of things get pushed through without any pushback because everyone is so afraid.
Right. And, gathering for protest isn't necessarily an option right now.
Right. Although the interesting thing is how the online sphere has become a place where people can be very influential. Hundreds and thousands and millions of people who are able to all join voices. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the larger meaning of this? Do you have any thoughts on the larger meaning of the pandemic or the crisis that we're happening right now? And do you feel like it's helping to shift our world for the better in some ways? Because I feel like we were talking about this too, there's this oscillation of hope and opportunity and excitement for what we can create as a collective consciousness, right? And then there's that sort of fear, sorrow, despair of the potential, other outcomes. I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts? What are your most salient thoughts on the larger meaning of all this?
Well, Sarah, I do a lot of work with mental wellness. That's the topic of my second book. And as I work with individuals doing Ayurvedic consultations, I see a lot of psychological imbalances that are driving people's choices and driving people's behavioral patterns. And a lot of it was because people are too busy and people are doing too much, basically. So we've gone from like a general culture globally of, say, 80% of people doing too much to no one being allowed to do anything. So it's like, so much of the time, my recommendations to people are to do less. Just do less, try to relax the mind, like try to play more, like play with your pets and, hang out with your children. And like people work too much. Like I think we have previously lived in a culture where productivity and work goals were the most important thing. And that was causing people to make decisions about their food and their sleep and all these things that affect their health.
Right.
So it's interesting to me that the whole like unsustainable nature of that has been shut down. And I think it's an opportunity for people to observe how different this feels, to be slow, to be slow, to spend more time at home, to cook your own food. I mean, I'm a cookbook author. Like I spend a lot of my time trying to get people to cook their own food. Yeah.
You know what? I am one of those people that has an addiction to going out to restaurants. I'm a single mom and I'm just like, let's just go get something. And, I try to eat like at healthy organic restaurants and all these things, but I definitely have that addiction. And now, all the restaurants are closed even down here in Costa Rica. So I've been doing all this food prep. I have organic vegetable delivery every Saturday and I've been prepping my food and I'm like, this is cool. And the other thing that you reminded me of is that, what do they say? It takes 21 days to create or break a new habit, or break an old habit, create a new habit. And, I mean, this, I don't know how long this thing is going to go on, whether it's going to be a couple months or, shorter, longer, who the heck knows, but it's going to probably be at least 21 days and many of us are going to have hopefully created really, really good habits and broken some really bad habits. And if you're not already sort of on the path of breaking old habits and creating new habits, now is the time, I would say, to go ahead and intentionally do that. Like if you've been like laying on the couch eating Lay's, totally understandable. We're all going through all sorts of stuff right now and any behavior is understandable, but maybe now is the time to like break that chain.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the positive aspect of the shutdown going on longer than I think any of us thought it was going to in the beginning. Is that, like you say, it's long enough for people to hit the wall with the potato chips on the couch. Like, I think that I'm observing that people are really like turning their attention towards health and wellness right now. They're looking for resources because it's like, okay, dude, like I did it for 2 weeks. It's done. Like I need my exercise and I need my good food and like I'm home cooking. Why don't I make food that supports my health? And everyone's thinking about health and immunity and all that stuff that Ayurveda is all about anyway.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time because people are being forced to do all of the things that I'm always recommending people do anyway, like eat healthy and stay home and be mellow.
Wow. Amazing. So speaking of which, like how has your business changed over the course of the last month or so?
Yeah, it's been fast and furious, the change. It's as I said, I had a lot of loss in the beginning, and I have been lucky enough over the past 20 plus years to spend time with my teachers in these Vedic traditions that are generally taught orally, where you're actually in the presence of the guru, or the one who is wise. And that's always been very important to me. And I feel like it's a large part of who I am, of how I teach, of why people are drawn to me is that most of the teachings I've received have been in like real life, real time transmission. And now I find myself in a place where I can't offer that in the way that that's why I like traveling, because I'm actually with the people. And I've always been in this, in this place where it's like, in the Vedic tradition, it's called a guru kula, which is like, kula is like a family. So it's a family with a teacher, and you all sit together and learn together. So now I'm interested in creating that online.
Yeah.
So I'm like the mad scientist. I'm totally willing to experiment. Like, I got pushed into it. I had resistance to it. Absolutely. I started working with online courses probably over the summer, so a while ago. But I was dragging my feet, and like, I had all this resistance about moving my work online. And then, so everything was probably like 2/3 of the way to where it needed to be for me to go live with some online courses. And then this all happened, and it was like, okay, boom, there I was, like on the help thing, trying to figure out how to run an online course, like get everything set up and upload this and record that. And, so it's been the technology aspect has kept me very busy, but I'm totally open to and willing to see what this platform has to offer. Like, can we create a family where people feel supported, and where because with the Vedic arts and sciences, I feel like the transmission of information is all in ways that you experience in your own body. Just like, yoga, you find it's not, if someone tells you, like, explains to you what happens when you like wrap your arm around your back and catch the other hand, it's useless until you actually do that. In your own body. You move your arm, like, and you have that experience and that feeling, and then something becomes real in your body and becomes a part of your experience. And so all the knowledge is like that. So I'm just wondering, like, how's it going to go?
Yeah.
How is this going to go? So I'm teaching cooking online now.
That's cool.
Yeah, because this is, people are like we're saying, people are at home trying to figure out like how to take care of themselves and make healing food. Exactly.
Well, and before it was like, I don't have time. It takes like an hour or more to cook a healthy dinner. I don't have time for that. And now it's like, well,
I have time. Yeah. Yeah, I know. So I'm in the kitchen with the laptop, like, trying to get everything in the right place. And I think that can totally work. I think it's actually ideal and better than doing a teaching kitchen in person, because people can be in their own kitchens.
Oh yeah.
With their computer or their iPad or whatever there, and like they can cook right along with me in their own house. It's really cool.
Well, we got to make sure by the end of this episode to tell people, we'll come back to that, to tell people how they can take those classes from you, because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of impact do you want to make in the world in the next 5 years? Just not that we know what the heck's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, right. 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, but, either before all this happened, or maybe you've been thinking about it now, and maybe we don't have to say 5 years, just like in the relatively near future, what kind of impact do you hope to make?
My thing, Sarah, has always just been to try to take forward this method of learning and this, and the richness of the Vedic traditions. I want to teach things in ways where we have a full awareness and respect for the fact that it took thousands of years of human experience to gain this kind of understanding. And that it's going to take all of our students their entire lifetime. They'll continue digesting and absorbing and assimilating this understanding, this wisdom. So I just want to keep that alive.
Keep it alive. I mean, it's interesting too, like how to keep ancient practices alive in a very modern world.
Yeah.
Is an interesting and fun challenge.
It is. I like it. And most of what my work has been sort of like spending so much of my youth back and forth to India, you know, and spending a lot of like time over there and learning how to cook over there and learning all of this lifestyle stuff that's just totally different when you're in an Indian household than when you're in an American household. So it was like I was kind of schizophrenic for like a decade there, because I'd spend a couple months in India, a couple months in the States, and keep going back and forth. And I think there was this constant application of the Indian ways of being into my life in the States. And some things work and some things don't. You know, so I've been able to sort of help other Westerners like figure it out, I think, in their own lives, because I know what their lives are like. You know, I know what kind of furniture we sit on and what kind of stoves we use and cooking pots and pans and this and that. So I'm going to write all my recipes and like create all of my lifestyle recommendations based on like what we have available. That's been, I think I'm just really good at that. I think that's part of why I've been successful, is that people, you know, read the way I describe it and they're just like, oh yeah, I can do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge contribution to the world, to be able to bring those practices to the modern world and to customize it for each sort of individual and their lifestyle. That's huge.
Yeah.
What kinds of like rituals and routines help you show up in the world aligned and ready to serve your people? And how has that shifted now?
That's a good question. That is a good question, Sarah, because I've been conversing with a lot of my friends and colleagues about that, because we're all on the computer so much more now than we usually are. And so our routines have had to change in order to support that. I find there's something about being on the computer that makes one's sense of reality become a little square. Like it shrinks. It's a certain like mindscape that happens when you spend a lot of time on the screen, because the eyeballs are actually taking in everything into the mind from this little square.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm seeing Costa Rica right now. Like, yeah, I'm hearing your fauna and flora, you know, like all of that is like a part of my world today, but it's all just coming from this little square. So I feel like what we need to do is get away from the box every like X number of hours and actually train the eyes on a different kind of vision. I
mean, just as you were saying that, I was like, I started to like take my eyes around. I'm like, okay, I can still hear you. I can still look at you every once in a while, but like, let me make sure that my eyes still work.
Yeah, exactly. Because what I'm noticing is that the mind, because again, a lot of my work is about how the mind functions and how it affects our health. And I just am noticing the way that the mind works is different when you're in the box versus like when you're in nature. So every time I have a break in between things, and I try to schedule, that's a big part of what I do, is I schedule so that I'm not stuck here for more than probably 2.5 hours at a time. I just go sit on the porch and I just sit there and I don't allow myself to move or to do anything. And it takes probably it's taking me like 10 minutes to adjust, because usually I sit in the chair and I'm like, I'm dying to get my phone, you know, and like Facebook or whatever. And I just sit there and I just wait for the senses to shift. And then I start like watching the squirrels, or I look at a tree or a cloud or whatever. And it like refreshes me 20 minutes and then I go back in.
I think that's brilliant, really. Because I will put down my phone right there and do it. And then I find myself going to it and not, but I love the idea of like 20 minutes, setting a timer, leaving my phone far, far away, sitting outside. And every time I have that thought, just being like, and really honing in on what's around me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm good at that if I've got like my kid around, or if I've got something like actively distracting me.
Yeah.
To really just be with it. Unless I'm, you know, there's also like meditation practice and yoga in the morning. I do that and I'm fine without my phone. But then I have like an activity. So how to just like sit with myself and look at nature. I love that. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, because we no longer are like leaving our houses and going to the workspace.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have to create this like delineations where we're not working right now, you know? And I think for people in fields like ours, where a lot of it is happening on your phone, like I think we have to be careful to leave that thing like somewhere else.
And then, so there's that. And then how do you reconcile that with staying really consistent with your marketing efforts? You know, like I suck at, I mean, I hate to say, I'm in the social media industry. I do Facebook and Instagram ads, all of that. And yet it is pulling teeth for me to like take pictures of my life and do stories and shit. I'm like, I'm sorry. Social media manager, help me, because I cannot make myself do it. And I'm okay with that for now. I'm okay with that. But how do you stay consistent with your marketing efforts given your, you know, practice?
Yeah, that's been a tricky one, actually. And it does come down to schedule. I've had to keep it real simple. Like what I noticed some of my colleagues doing, because a lot of us kind of in the yoga world are new to working online, and all of a sudden it's happening. So I'm noticing that a lot of us have sort of real self-conscious feelings that we don't know how to do it, you know. And I watch people get really sucked into the tech aspect of like making a video and putting it on, you know, like, oh, well, I have to get a mic and I have to have a this or a that or whatever. And it's like, no, nothing. So I just keep it super simple. I keep it to like less than a minute, and I don't do it more than once. Like I don't take and retake and watch stuff. Like I'm like, what do we want to talk about today? Okay. Like today I posted a picture of my stuffed animals relaxing because it was just they were lying on the bed, and I was like, that's really cute. Dink. And then I put some words with it that go along with Ayurveda. You know, it's not like I have a schedule and I plan it all out, and I'm not really trying to deliver like an education to people through the posts. I'm really just trying to keep a sense of like connection.
Yeah. I mean, I think that having personal connection with your audience is probably like the most important thing with online marketing for people like us that do our kind of work. So I think that's brilliant. And that raw, vulnerable, personal connection is super important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know a lot of us, you know, we struggle with like that existential crisis of self-promotion. And so I think if you can break through that and know that your leadership is needed in the world, your particular gifts and offerings are needed in the world. And that's awesome that you're able to do that.
Yeah. And I also, you know, in the beginning when this all started happening, the whole be marketing myself thing, I hit some walls with it, like you're describing, around like, I don't want to make video, like I don't want to like sit and do this, and I don't want to do that. And I didn't want it to be this big strategized thing. For me, it's like improv. And that just, to me, feels more natural. I think I'm not saying one is better than the other or whatever.
Yeah,
but I had to like discover these things about myself and what my strengths were. Like I know humor and improv and being concise. Like those are my three things.
Yeah, I love the under a minute thing. That's great.
yeah, because if I start talking for longer than that, like where are we going? Like what are we trying, you know, what am I trying to like impart?
Yeah.
Either I'll get you to sign up for a course where we have an hour and a half to 2 hours to like really understand this concept, you know, or we have like a half a minute where I'm showing you my stuffed animals today, you know, and it's just I just decided that it had to be fun for me, or it was gonna suck.
Totally. What kind of people resonate with you? I mean, I feel like you've given little hints of that, like obviously people who have a good sense of humor.
Yeah. yeah. I feel like, I think that I do end up with a lot of people who are also in wellness professions being interested in my work, because I think they can see I'm like close enough to where they are that they could see themselves doing what I'm doing.
Uh-huh. Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like in my field, you get your Ayurvedic doctors, you know, who spent 20 years in colleges in India. And it's kind of like, whoa, you know. So people who are trying to share yoga and Ayurveda, I think they're very interested in seeing how I got to here and how I do it, because I'm not like coming from a completely different background than they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a lot of people who are also teaching, who are also Ayurvedic consultants.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I get a lot of people who are just like new to the whole thing, because I think another thing that I've wanted to be for this tradition is friendly. Like I just want it to be friendly, because you know how people can feel when they're new in a yoga thing or a wellness
Especially with
path.
Ashtanga and Ayurveda, it's like it's intimidating. It can be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I can be intimidating too. I think that is part of what makes me great, but it's also scary. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to. I've just been aware that if I come at it too intensely and I'm not having fun myself, then like everyone's just feeling nervous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I just kept it really, and that was the thing with my books. I was like, I want anybody to be able to open this book, anybody who's coming from whatever lifestyle, whatever diet, and to feel comfortable, like they belong here, like there's a place for them to fit some of this, any amount of this, into their current life.
Yeah. So then how do you stay in alignment with your customers and make sure that what you're offering them, your books, your courses, all of that are resonating with your people?
This is where I don't think about them.
Okay.
I think about the traditions that, as I said, I want to keep this wisdom alive. That's my focal point. So what's interesting to me is to observe the health and the wealth of these traditions as they sit in people's lives. It's like they infiltrate people's consciousness and then start to change the way that person lives. And they feel better and they look better. Their relationships are better. You know, they're happy with themselves and the life they're living. It's like all these changes start happening because the person is embodying some of this ancient wisdom. So I just feel like if I could just stay true to this wisdom and be a good teacher in such a way that people can get something about it, you know, and work it in. And then I just love to watch it like take root and flower in people's lives. It's so cool.
Love it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you're channeling ancient wisdom, and that's how you stay in alignment, because you believe in that, and it's truth for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I obviously have to like keep living it, you know, and studying. Yeah. Like if I'm not enriching my own understanding of this stuff regularly, then the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't get too busy. That's one thing. I have to say no. I learned how to say no like really early on and keep my schedule like.
Yeah, I mean, that requires delegation. So
that's true.
Yeah, which has been one of my biggest challenges, but I've gotten so much better at it this year, like so much better. I'm really proud of myself, because that was
good for you.
Huge growth edge.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that you were reaching people organically, you mentioned that you did start running paid ads. What got you interested in doing that, given especially that you have to delegate your online presence, you know, so much? What got you into that idea?
I think it was, you know, when my books started to be translated into other languages, and I started to realize that I had a community of people, because people write to me sometimes from God knows anywhere, and just this sweet little couple lines about how one of my books has, you know, improved their quality of life. And I'm getting these from like Russia, you know, Argentina, you know, all these different places. And I just felt like, and meanwhile, like in our household, we were still financially struggling. And I just I turned 40 was one thing that happened. I stopped teaching yoga, like in the physical, like be there every day in the morning thing. I left the city, I moved to the country, like all these things happened in this like 1 year of my life. And I suddenly like needed to pay my mortgage, you know, like didn't actually have like day-to-day income. You know, I needed to like kind of get myself together. And I realized that it felt to me like so using social media was the best way to let all these people who already benefited from my work know that like there's even more things they can do with me.
Right.
Because they already know me. They already know my voice. It's already a part of their kitchen experience.
Yeah.
You know? So I feel like because they are comfortable already with my voice, it's like I was creating all of these opportunities to help people, you know, but they didn't know about them.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's just silly.
Yeah. You know,
so I was like, I gotta run some ads here. You know?
No, absolutely. I mean, you've got like a captive audience of people who, well, you've got some people that already know you, but then there's all these people who would love you if they knew you.
Yeah.
So, you know,
right.
You know, some percentage of the 2 billion people on Facebook and Instagram, and, you know, even if it's a tiny percentage, that's a shit ton of people. So, you know, they would just absolutely be, you know, huge fans of your work, and really you could make it a wonderful impact on their lives. They just have to be acquainted with you.
Exactly.
So I'm so glad that that's happening for you and that you're seeing those kinds of results. It's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. And you know, Sarah, what was the other thing that really got me on board with it was health insurance. Like I realized, like, again, turning 40, I was like, I need to be going to the dentist. I need to be going to the doctor. You know, like I'm getting to this point in my life where I need to do all this stuff. And I suddenly realized that if I like broke a tooth, I didn't have the money to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And that's not okay. It's not okay to be all interested in like bettering the world and helping people and whatever, and not being able to like fix my tooth when it breaks. And that was ultimately what got me like over that hump of being like scared of advertising, you know, self-promotion, where I was like, you know, I think that care of my body could potentially get very expensive as I age, and like I need that money. Like I don't want to have to struggle and get like subpar care and that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you made that move. I'm glad you made that leap for yourself, for your family, and for the rest of the world that gets to know you better. What's the next level? How are you going to reach more people over the course of the next months and years?
It's a good question. I think for me, it's always kind of an organic thing. Again, like I don't like to strategize too much. So like everything I've done along the way, necessity has been the mother of invention. Like even with my first book, it was because I was working one-on-one with clients in the city and no one was cooking. You know, and in Ayurveda, digestion and diet is it's like the first place you have to like get yourself in gear before you move on to the next level. And so I was like, oh, we need a cookbook. Like we need a good cookbook. None of these cookbooks that are out there are working. So I created a cookbook, you know, and now it's like, okay, now we need an online place where we can have a transmission of ancient traditions, you know, in a way that's actually, that the traditions are going to continue to take seed and flower like that, you know. So it's like these things are needed. So, and I like that I have that kind of brain where I get like all into problem solving and kind of creating whatever the thing is that's needed. So I think that I think that as soon as these online courses really start rolling, it will be very clear what these people need next. And it's just going to keep expanding like that. And then we'll have different tiers of offerings from people who are beginners to 5 years from now, there'll be people who've been walking this path with me for 5 years. So we'll have 5 years worth of programming.
Amazing.
That people can do. Yeah. And it's going to take, I'm just going to let it take that 5 years, you know, to come into its own and be what it's supposed to be to help people. That's the way that it can.
Beautiful. Well, tell me, how can people find you? How can they find your cookbooks? How can they find your cooking class? How can they find any of your offer?
They can definitely go to, my books are available wherever you get a book. So Everyday Ayurvedic Cookbook, they can search for that. My website is kateodonnell.yoga. And that's where they can get my information. Like all my books are there, my schedule is there. I honestly have to say that right now the best place to find out the information about my online courses is on Facebook because I am running ads. Mm-hmm. So I've just kind of been like, I'm just noticing that most of the people who are signing up for my programs right now are signing up through those ads. Yeah. So I'm like, we'll just keep running those.
Well, honestly, then people need to go to your website, which will be linked in the show notes, because your website is pixeled. I checked. Your website's pixeled with the Facebook pixel. So then people will start seeing your ads. If I'm sure you're the person that's running your ads is retargeting anybody who comes to your website. So that would be the way to make sure that you're served up Kate's ads is go to check out that website, see if there's anything there you want now. And if not, then maybe something that she comes up with in the future will grab your attention.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. This is such a pleasure getting to know you. And
likewise.
Thanks y'all for listening, and keep taking care of yourself.